Hey guys, we're back and we're quilting area 9 of the BERNINA Rulerwork Sampler. And this row is the row I probably get the most questions about, and it is orange peels. Now, orange peels aren't too hard, but there are some things you have to be aware of. It's a design that's built off a series of circles. And since you're building a design off of circles, you have to be sure that you have the right size ruler for the area you're trying to cover. So I have a 4-inch ruler here, or rather, my ruler is 3.5 inches. That means if I stitch around that circle, I'll get a 4-inch circle. That means my channel has to be 4 inches for the circles to fit perfectly. Now, I have a situation here on the sampler where my channel is actually 5 inches across, so I'm going to have to do something about that because this design will only work in a 4-inch area. So what I decided to do was come in a 1/2 inch on either side and quilt a little echo line, so I'd be left with a 4-inch channel. And that's just perfect for the design that I want to do. So I've already marked my quilt. I'm going to go ahead and stitch those echo lines on either side, and I'll be back to show you how to stitch the orange peels. Okay, I've gone ahead and I've stitched my straight lines, and I'm going to start the orange peel design by stitching an S-curve. So you can see, because I'm on the long arm, my orange peel is actually oriented, so I'm working it up and down rather than side to side. If I was on a domestic, I might rotate my quilt top so that I could work it side to side, but it's really up to you. It'll work out either way. So we're going to begin by stitching this S-curve. I've already made my marks. And what I'm going to do, let me zoom in here for a minute so you guys can see better. When I stitch these S-curves, what I like to do is just stitch from this point to that point. Then I adjust my ruler before stitching from this point to this point. I don't find I have very good results if I try to stitch the entire semicircle in one pass. Sometimes the ruler skips, sometimes I might be off, but I have the best results if I just concentrate on stitching one quadrant at a time. So that's what I'm going to do. I have my rulers sandwiched together so I have more surface area. And it's going to be a little difficult to see this first curve because it's behind the machine, but you'll be able to see more as we work over here. Okay, so I'm stitching from this point to that point to begin my S-curve. So let's go from point to point. If my ruler slips, I would stop and adjust. Okay, now I stitch from this point to that point. That's my next quadrant. Okay, then I stitch from this point. Oh, this is difficult to see, but there's a little point over there I'm going to try to hit. It's pretty faint. My wash away pen must be running out of ink. And then I'm going to adjust my ruler before I stitch to the next point back here. And then adjust my ruler again. Now, here you're going to note, this is kind of awkward for me. I'm right-handed, I'm holding this ruler with my left hand, I'm stitching around it. Sometimes you have to hold your rulers in awkward positions to get the curves you want. Now that's actually an advantage of stitching on a domestic. If the position's super awkward, you can just rotate your quilt. Whereas on a long arm, oh, I think my arm just slipped, which means my camera just slipped. On a long arm, you kind of are stuck with the position you're in unless you are willing to remount your quilt. And I don't usually remount my quilt. The only time I would be if I was working borders, like a big feather border, and I had finished the rest of my quilt and I just had to do the side borders. I might remount my quilt just for that purpose, so I could work the side borders in one pass without rolling the quilt constantly. So you can see I'm just working around, and I'm taking the extra time to realign my ruler if I need to, because things do happen. And oh my goodness, I just noticed a little mistake I have. Okay, so let me zoom in so you can see this. on the edge of my quilt, there's that marked blue line, and then there's this red line, which is the basting line that's actually outside the quilting area. And by mistake, instead of coming into the marked blue line and starting my design, I just started from that red area, which is going to be in the binding. And that means this part of the circle is going to be cut off in the binding. So what would I do to fix that? I'm going to show you what I'd really do. So, warts and all, so you guys can really see what happens. Even if you're a professional quilter, sometimes you make those mistakes. So what I'd most likely do in that event is just stitch the correct line and come back to where I need it to be. Later, I'm going to come in and just pick out that line, because I think that's going to be apparent if my circle's cut off there. So I'm just going to pick out that line, and I'm going to actually just let it be. It'll look perfect. No one will ever know. So now, next step is the scallops. So I'm going to do the top scallops, and then look in there, and then the bottom scallop. Okay, so I'm going to stitch from quadrant to quadrant. So I get up there. That's the first quadrant. And then I'm going to make sure that I hit that center line that I drew with my stitching. So, okay. And then I'm going to adjust the ruler if needed to get to the next point. I'm already at the top of the row. See, it goes pretty fast. Whoops. The handle of the long arm shifted a little, so I just want to make sure that you guys can still see what I'm doing. Okay, this is the awkward part, right? Sometimes you have to hold the ruler in an awkward position. Okay. Now remember, just worry about stitching from here to here. Don't worry about stitching the whole way around yet. Don't worry about problems until you're there. Okay, to the center there, and then I adjust my ruler if I need to, and go to the center there. Oh, we are almost done, guys. See, I needed to adjust my ruler just a little bit. And now I'm going to go back to that original point and see how I can just rip out that line later. That's fine. I could pick it all out and have you not see my mistakes, but I think sometimes the best thing is to see mistakes, because then you see how to fix them. So those are my orange peels. I really like how they turned out, and I hope you enjoy stitching orange peels on your quilts.